Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, mothers, fathers, daughters, sons, brothers, and sisters. Welcome back to round number 5 of the AFVRC, the Armed Forces Virtual Racing Cup. My name is Chris Buxton. I'll be one of your commentators throughout tonight's festivities. As you can see by the on-screen graphics, we are at Brands Hatch, the Indy layout in particular. A short track, but a challenging one nonetheless. Great to be back in the box alongside the Scottish wonder himself, John Monroe. John, are you back with us?
I am indeed. Good to be here, Chris. And yeah, as you said, the short track of the UK Brands Hatch Indy. It's going to be the second attempt at getting this round underway. We did try last week, but unfortunately iRacing had other ideas. But the good news is we're back and up and running this week, and we're ensured a very exciting night of action.
That we are just shy of 2 kilometers, not too many turns, but they will be a challenge all about the conservation of momentum for this particular circuit. And despite the fact it is so short, it is still very challenging as the camera cuts to what will be the sort of cut through section. So you come through the Surtees, Clearways, down towards Clark. That you run off the road there and you're basically cannonballing into the side of somebody else. So it can go very wrong very easily. And trying to make time back is going to be very, very difficult indeed. One of my arch nemesis in the sim racing world, Paddock Hill Bend. I have binned many a virtual lap there. It is off camera, right-hander, and it is I scream at it every time I wander off the road. Enough of that. Let's have a look at the championship standings as a reminder to where we stood last time out. Luke Arpino with a fairly narrow lead over Chris Boland at the top of the tables. Peter Finch in third. Stuart McFadden has won every race he's competed in, but he was not with us races 3 and 4. That is why he sits currently 4th, but not far away, less than 100 points from Luke at the top of the standings. Peter Plastow in 5th, Stuart Etok in 6th, Adam Barron 7th, Steve Ward in 8th, Darren Berris in 9th, James King, our lead BMW, rounding out the top 10. Leading up to this point, it has been fantastic racing from all of our represented teams. Again, as a reminder, this is for the armed forces, all elements of our British forces. We thank them all for their service. The Royal Air Force, somewhat of a dominant stronghold, going on to the top of the championship standings, just 6 points away from breaking into 4 figures. The Army in second, with our Royal Navy forces in third, narrowly edging out our veterans. So those that obviously been in the forces for a while or no longer serve, but we welcome their participation in this series nonetheless. John, we have seen some brilliant racing thus far. You've actually raced around Kent's finest. What can we expect from our GT4 machinery here at Brands?
I mean, it's a tricky place to overtake. It's a place that really demands concentration at all moments. I think the key, essentially, to racing well around here is sticking in the train and waiting for the mistakes to happen. It's very difficult to force a move. We've talked about that at many circuits that we've seen so far this season, including Lebanon last time out. This one is a track that the drivers will know a lot better, but the key here is if you fall out of the rhythm, if you lose your momentum, if you end up off the racing line, pushed out wide, you could very, very easily lose 2-3 positions, and then you'll be out of position for the next corner, you'll lose another one, and it's all about getting back into the train. So I think that's going to be the crucial thing to watch out for around here. I don't know what car is going to have the advantage around here, Chris. It's got a mixture of different types of corners, a lot of fast-flowing corners where momentum is key, as you were saying. Corner exits and traction, hugely important at Brands as well. Graham Hill Bend, crucial to get the power on early, and then it's about carrying the speed up through Surtees. Exit of Clearways, of course, that you can see right now on the screen, vital to both lap time and to race position, because you're going to have to defend your position all the way down the Brabham Straight. So, well, I say Brabham Straight, as you can see, it's not exactly much of a straight, is it? A bit more of a banana. And then into the most difficult braking zone, arguably in the UK, Paddock Hill Bend. Look at it there. Huge amounts of camber. Just an iconic corner. I'd say, in some ways, an underrated corner in the global world of motorsport. You know, I think it's a corner that everyone associates well with Brands Hatch, but not necessarily a corner that people talk about often when you're talking about the most interesting corners in the world. And I don't know any other corner that is anything like Paddock Hill Bend.
In that I will agree. Now, I've not raced a lap in any circuit in real life, only ever in the sim racing world. Paddock Hill Bend always strikes me as one of those few corners that you will leave your lunch behind every time you have that meteoric drop from top to bottom down to Pilgrim's Rise, as we are looking at Adam Barron in the number 5 Porsche, just coming into the aforementioned Paddock Hill bend. Entrance very, very crucial. You take too many kilometers an hour through there and you're off into the dust, and you are almost certainly into the wall. Now, Druids, one of the slowest parts of the circuit, downhill and braking zone 4, Graham Hill bend. You want to flirt with that, and right on cue, Tom Stevens. Thank you for that. I was just about to say you want to flirt with the grass on the outside line, but go slightly too wide, and it will catapult you towards an inside line. And Adam Barron proving what happens if you flirt with the grass on the outside of the circuit is just as catastrophic. But our current pole sitter, Chris Bowden, is second in the championship behind Luke Carpino in the Aston Martin. I thought the Porsches would be ruling the roost here, but I'm quite happy to be proven wrong in that instance. Peter Plastow, the next Aston, the number 312 car, just coming down the hill towards Graham Hill bend himself. As always, with the track being so short, of course, the lap times are going to be very, very close. It's barely over a second, top to bottom at the moment.
It's very, very close indeed. You always get that at Brands Hatch Indy, of course, because it is pretty much the shortest circuit that we come to in the UK. And yeah, you're right. You know, there's plenty of corners where you just need to flirt with the edges, although don't ask the grass to marry you straight away. That's never going to end well. Roland certainly putting a marker down at the moment, the man who is second in the championship. And we're now on board with Peter Finch in what should be the bright green Aston Martin. You can see there in the mirror as well, he's got a bright green helmet to match. Peter had a really consistent season. He's not really been right at the top of any particular races. No race wins, for example, for Peter. I don't think, yeah, he's had one podium actually in race 6 with a 3rd place finish at Silverstone. Other than that, though, he's just been consistent, and it's seen him rise to 3rd in the standings in the 886 Aston, so he'll be looking to continue that form. 6th position, around about where he's been all season in terms of qualifying. One thing, of course, of note, no Stu McFadden this weekend by the looks of it, or this Tuesday evening, I should say. Now, that means that, of course, despite Stu winning 100% of the races he started this year, this will mean that he's missed 4 races by the end of this, assuming he doesn't come back for the next one. And that'll mean that basically all of his drop scores have been used. So it is very important information to bear in mind for the championship. It really does open it up to the other drivers to see if they can take advantage. People like Adam Barron, Stevens, who also missed a couple of rounds early on, they'll be looking to capitalise on Stu's absence. And it does mean that we're going to see a big battle for the win, as Darren Barris, another man, taking things a bit too far in his relationship with the grass.
Absolutely true. Now, yeah, you raise a good point there, John, in that because we have drop scores in this season, missing a race or even 2 is not necessarily the end of your championship challenge. Of course, we fully understand that our serving member of the armed forces can't always guarantee that they'll be with us on Tuesday evening. And as iRacing was somewhat proved last week, we can't always guarantee that iRacing will behave itself. But generally, it is. No, you don't exit the circuit there, Mr. Crop. That's not how it's done. It's going a little bit too deep into Druids. Steve Ward again flirting with somewhat of an unusual spot in the grass to be doing so on the way down towards Graham Hill bend. Again, another one of our Porsches, the number 36 car, just working his way through Surtees, 3 clearways now up towards Clark Curve, hugging that inside line. Now, I always found it a bit difficult to not necessarily get into the rhythm, but find the right lines. Was always what I kind of struggled with, which in some circuits, there really is only one way to maximize your lap time. But as we were riding on board with Steve Ward there, just notice how bumpy the circuit is. The undulation is not just the only element that these drivers have to deal with. The actual circuit is very, very bumpy indeed. And these cars don't take well to lots of bumps. I saw someone parked on the inside line. Oh, sorry, the outside running down towards Graham Hill bend. That's someone that has gone a little bit too deep when Druids just caught the grass, and that has spat them towards their right-hand side. Very easy to do. We've seen it several times already in this qualifying session, of which less than 4 minutes remain of. And we will say in the pre-race and the pre-broadcast practice session, Chris Boland was at the top of that as well. So very much has the rule of the roost in the number 86 car.
Yeah, you made an interesting point about different lines, actually. It's one of the few circuits where there are genuinely there's a couple of corners, actually. I would say Druids and also through clearways, where you can take two different lines in depending on the car you're driving. And obviously, this being a GT4 series rather than a single car series, you might actually end up seeing different preferred lines for different cars depending on the characteristics and the baseline setup that they'll be stuck on with that particular car. So it's going to be interesting. I think the other thing about brands is you can have different lines in qualifying that you would take in the race, either aiming for lap time or aiming to try and defend your position, especially when it comes up to that final section through clearways. But only one proper line really through Paddock Hill Bend that we see Ben Weston taking now. That drop really is as big as it looks. In fact, it's probably bigger in real life than it actually comes across in this virtual setting here in iRacing. But this is one of the corners I was talking about. You can either take a V-shape or a U-shape line through Druids, depending on your characteristics. With the Aston, it's kind of a point and squirt car, so you might be seeing some V-shaped lines through there, and this is the section we're talking about with the track limits. There basically aren't any. You can go as wide as you want without going fully on the grass. As we now look at one of the Panda liveries, that's Ryan Abbott's, currently sitting in P15. You may have also noticed McFadden's not the only person missing. We are also missing tonight our championship leader, Luke Arpino. So that basically it's an open door for these guys at the top to really stamp some authority on the standings, especially likes of Boland, Stevens and Barron. And of course, Plastow, our top championship member from a different team that's not the RAF. He is, of course, racing for the British Army. So Plastow will be a fan favourite for all of those supporting that team. And he's doing well up in 4th place, as he has been, has to be said, all season.
Yeah, absolutely so. Yeah, being Plastow, we've seen some real solid racing from him. Podium in race 3. So, he has stood on the steps before. That was Donington Park, if memory serves. Sadly, didn't go well on race 2. Didn't score any points there. We do have a McLaren. Dan Hardwick has joined us for this race. So our sole McLaren representative, albeit down towards the tail end of this particular qualifying session. See if he's able to improve on that. Tom Stevens in the 89 Porsche, our lead Porsche at the moment, just a 10th off that top spot, which, a 10th of a second is the literal time it takes the average person to blink. So that is how short a 10th of a second is. That being said, because the times are so close, finding that 10th of a second, as Chris Boland was getting a bit of a drift on, coming through Clark Curve, nicely done, being chased by they wear the same colours. I mean, how much teammate there is going on is debatable, as only the top 2 scorers of any team will actually add points to the team tally. So whilst the Air Force does have the most numerous representation, it's not their dominance is not down by numbers. It is down by performance, as you would imagine. So yeah, there's going to be a fair amount of fighting going on. That is that much we do enjoy as we are cycling through various cars. That's still one of my favourite liveries, that beautiful green Aston Martin. I'm noticing a few different liveries out there tonight, which is always good to see. 18 cars out there, so if you line them all in a nose to tail, you might almost walk an entire lap of Brands Hatch without touching the floor. No, not quite. But it is good to see that we have got quite a few drivers joining us for this fantastic circuit that's going to make the racing even more intense.
Absolutely. And talking to the different teams, we watched Plastow now representing the Army, but you've also, of course, got Stevens up there in second. Didn't mention him earlier, but he does represent the Royal Navy, and he's the highest member of that team in the championship in 15th. He did, of course, miss the opening 2 rounds, so Stevens' championship position doesn't reflect his pace, and you're seeing proof of that here tonight, sitting on the front row as it stands at the moment. But the timer has reached the end of the session, so Stevens won't get another chance to improve as he does a 47.4. It's going to be down now to the drivers on their final laps, and this being Brands Hatch Indy, I don't think it'll be long before we see this qualifying session come to an end. And currently, it looks like Boland is going to hang on here for that pole position, and he's a man who looked like a championship contender from the start. He maybe dropped off a little bit in the last few rounds, but he's coming back strong here at Brands Hatch.
Last run then for Peter Plastow. Does he improve? Oh, look at that. 4,000 off his previous best. So we now look at Anne Barron now into the pit lane he comes. So that is a legitimate line. There is another more weekly line through the pit lane, but they are using that straight through bit. That's not then cutting corners. That is indeed legitimate. So then it is if the qualifying is done, this will decide the grid for our first race of the night. There are 2 of them, and then we will use the random wheel to decide how many grid spots are going to be reversed for race number 2. We will deal with that come the time. So here is the grid for race number 1. Chris Boland in the 86 car, along with Tom Stevens on row 1. Adam Barron and Peter Plastow on row 2, with Benjamin Cullen and Peter Finch taking on row 3. James King, Darren Berris take on row 4, with Stuart Eatock and Chris Slater on row 5. Bradley Crump and Steve Ward, row 6. Adam Waters and Ben Weston, row 7. Ryan Abbott and Jack Ajewski, row 8, with Colin Scott and Dan Hardwick taking on the back of the field. Just 1.5 seconds top to bottom. This is exactly as you were saying earlier, John. This is all going to be about pressure management as well as momentum, or maintenance of momentum. So this is going to be fantastic.
It certainly is, and we've got so many competitive drivers. I think despite the dominance we've seen from Stu McFadden, he's just had that half second over the field in general across the rounds. We haven't really seen, any big gaps in the middle of the field, or even just the rest of the top 5. It's been super, super close between all of these guys you can see now in your picture. And I think qualifying proved that. Yes, it's Branstad Indy. Yes, the times are always going to be a bit closer, but I really will say this: anyone of that top 6 could win this race, and that's obviously creating a fascinating prospect. I think we're going to get underway here very soon as the red lights come on.
That they are. We know this process. It is time to wind them up and to let them go. Now, that's a terrible start by the Mercedes. That's round row 4. That was, and a spin as well. That's Crop, I think that is Connor Cropper. Had to say it at some point in the race with Stevens falling down the field. That's someone off backwards and missing a rear wing. That is Tom Stevens. Terrible, terrible start for him. That's such a shame. Exactly as you were saying, John. Since he's joined the season on race 5, he's been so strong. Sadly, that streak coming to an end. Bowden from Barron from Plastow, your top 3.
Yeah, the Barron lap 1 curse return. This is from Lennon, but this time it's not him that's paying the price for it. He had a little bit of contact there with the rear end of Stevens, and round Stevens went. The cars are so light through there, it's very easy to happen, but it looked like Barron was just trying to make a move down the inside, and they got a little bit too close. But what that's allowed, of course, is for Chris Boland to make a little bit of a run for it out in front. We now watch Finch battling with Waters just on the fringes of the top 10. Other than that first incident, though, it looks like it's been a fairly clean first lap. Hardwick's in the pits. We obviously saw the BMWs on the start straight. Both of them had a nightmare. One of them almost getting into the wall off the line, and the other one getting spun around. So there were a few casualties in that opening lap. Barron, of course, will be reeling after the contact, but he has got away with it on this occasion, and he'll now be looking to reel in Boland ahead. 8 tenths between the two of them. Plastow, Berris and Eatock, the rest of the top 5, and everyone's fairly line astern.
James King's had a really good start, but he's being challenged as well. You can see on the tower, there it is, Eatock and Cullen on his inside line, but he's gone too deep. He's gone too deep through clearways, and that has dropped him from 6th to 9th in the blink of an eye. Again, with this field being so close, a tiny mistake is exasperated by the fact that you've got so many people ready to pounce. 47.6, new fastest out of the race is now people getting into their rhythms and finding their own bit of real estate. Chris Boland now leads by just over a second of the rest of the field. And look at this lot, all vying for space, coming up into Druids once again. That's Finch and Waters swapping around again. The Mercedes actually getting really good line and demoting the Aston. Oh no, that's off! That's Slater's. Chris Slater has again just caught that grass on the outside line, exactly as I said during qualifying. Before he couldn't then spin it around, he's going to have to go into reverse. Careful! That's Bradley Croc coming behind you. Nicely done. That's dropped him very much out of the running, but always worth continuing. So we do have drop scores to consider, so it's always worth finishing the race. We just saw Peter Finch there getting a little bit uncomfortable coming out of Clark, as he's trying to get the power down that slight bit too early and costing him that valuable momentum, but he's still glued to the back of Eatock as they now come through Paddock Hill Bend for another go at Druids.
Yeah, Slater just getting on the power a little bit early. I think, to be honest, that wasn't the issue. It was the grass, as you say. You have to get on the power early in these cars to get them rotated, to get them out of the corner, and just a bit of a misjudgment, unfortunately, for Slater. That rear-wheel drive Aston with all the grunt not doing him too nicely on the exit, and that really does ruin his chances in this first race. In fact, it'll be very difficult to get back into the reverse grid positions for the second race. As we see Ryan Abbott's just missing the curb there on the entry, but we're getting a bit close here between Waters and Eatock as well. These guys have been very close for the whole race. It looks like Waters has got a little bit of an overlap here as he heads down the inside. He does just have an overlap in the 45, but you can see there the Aston, the torque kicking in, and just through goes Eatock. Manages to break that overlap and allows him to take his line, but I tell you what, he's gone in too deep. He runs wide, and that is going to be the position for Waters, but will Eatock lose more here? He is going to, as Finch now dives to the inside. So Finch takes that position. Eatock's still stuck out wide, and this is what I was talking about earlier. Once you get out of the train, it's so hard to get back in, but it looks like he's going to have the inside line now. and he manages to hold it just ahead of James King through Graham Hill Bend, gets back into the queue, but that has caused him a lot of position loss, down from 5th to 8th, or 6th to 8th I should say, in those few corners. So not a great lap there for Stuart Etic, but he did well actually to keep out of the gravel.
That he did. That could have been ever so more costly with Adam Morton. We haven't actually seen him since the first couple of races, so glad to see him back in the Mercedes. I believe our lead Mercedes, as the fastest lap has now changed hands. Adam Barron in the number 5 Porsche, our lead Porsche of the night, has just taken that fastest lap. 1.5 seconds now is the gap that greets in between himself and our race leader. We now see Chris Boland is just getting into his rhythm. He doesn't need to push any harder. He just needs to keep on doing what he's doing with James King. And that's outside manoeuvre coming through Drew is to take that position from Stu Etok. It's certainly doable. You do have to trust the person you are overtaking. So if they get understeer into you, you are booking an appointment with the wall. Oh no, Ben Weston. That is just on the exit of Graham Hill Bend. Again, just catching that grass. He's managed to keep it out of the wall, but it took him a little while to get going, so it's cost him a lot of time. Peter Plastow now with the fastest lap of the race. It's only improving by hundreds or thousands in some instances, as these are fairly close to the qualifying lap times are already getting into. On board with Stuart Etok now as he's trying to attack James King up into Druitt. You can do it, but from that far back, he bowed out of that one quite early on. He's staying on that rear wing of the BMW. Down the hill, Graham Hill Bend just catch that inside line. He didn't run as wide as he could do, but sometimes safety is the better way to go. Now coming up towards Surtees, clear ways, the tail getting a little bit loose. That's mainly the undulation changing that is catching the Aston slightly off guard, keeping it nice and steady, trying to get that rhythm back and trying to regain some lost time.
Boland and Plastow exchanging fastest laps. It now goes back to Boland, so that gap goes up to 1.6. But Ajewski is right in the thick of the action here, stuck in the middle of these two. It's the Mercedes in front, of course, the Porsche behind of Stevens on the recovery run, and Ajewski is not going to do himself any favours there. Running wide into turn 1 might have been deliberate, but I probably would say it was more of a mistake. It's so easy heading into Paddock Hill just to miss your turn-in point, and because it's off camber, it's very, very easy to miss the apex as well. You can see Stevens carrying the damage. He's got no rear wing on that Porsche, and I can't imagine what that must be doing to the grip levels, but he's doing a good job with it, to be fair. He's now back up into 12th spot, so that puts him in contention for the reverse grid. Obviously 12th, despite what you might think, having watched the first 4 rounds, is no guarantee that you will get a reverse grid pole position, so Stevens will have to make it up into 6th if he wants a full guarantee of that. But I tell you what, he's given himself a good chance, and I wouldn't have expected that having seen the damage on that car, so fair play to him. He's really determined to make the moves here. What's he going to do now as he heads up behind Abbott's back into Paddock Hill Bend? He's going to try and force a mistake, looks to the inside, but Abbott's is wise to it, keeps it nicely under control, and these guys will live to fight another few corners.
I'm not entirely sure how Tom Stevens is keeping that Porsche in check as well as he is. He now gets an overlap on Ryan Abbott. Can't do anything about it though. Just can't get the traction when he needs it against a Mercedes. With the Mercedes a little bit more cautious. Coming down towards Graham Hill Bend. This is an opportunity now for the 89 Porsche. Draws alongside. Oh, can he do it though? I mean, with a damaged car, this is brave indeed. Is he going to string it around the outside? Oh no, and that's an understeer moment from the Mercedes. Punches the Porsche in the face, and that gives Ajewski that 12th position.
That was just unfortunate there, wasn't it? Abbott's either locked up the brakes a little bit or just went in a bit deep. Couldn't quite get the nose turned in, and Stevens was the innocent bystander there. Nothing much he could have done about it, and he drops back to 13th. So Ajewski back into the mix. I doubt Stevens, to be fair, even knows he's missing his rear wing, because you can't really see much from inside these cars. And on iRacing, obviously, being a simulation, a hardcore simulation, you're obviously stuck to cockpit camera, so there's no way of checking the damage visually. You're going to have to rely on feel and what you can see in your mirrors. So who knows if Stevens actually aware of the issue. But Plastow, with his pace, we were saying he was exchanging fastest laps, right on the back of Adam Barron here for P2. So this could be a fantastic move here for Peter Plastow coming up. He looks to the outside of Paddock Hill, so he's going to try and force the defence by Barron to cut to the inside for the exit. He's managed to do it, but Barron's gotten a good exit, and he's just going to come across ahead of Plastow, who has to dive to the outside now as we head through Druids. Once again, Plastow looking at the exit. Barron's going to run a little bit wide, but we saw last time out at Lebanon how good Barron is in terms of the traction and the exit of the corners. That Porsche well suited to places like the exit of Druids, and yeah, proving it there once again. Even though he doesn't quite have the pace of Plastow behind him, he's able to hold on. He's just got 7 more minutes to try and keep it.
This is going to be very easier said than done as Peter Plastow gets back under the rear wing of the Porsche. So it is Porsche versus Aston. It is Air Force versus Army for the second place spot. Peter Plaster piling the pressure on to Adam Barron, but the Porsche does not yield as Chris Boland continuing to stress his advantage. He just doesn't need to push, but he wants the fastest lap anyway, so he's claiming that particular position. And again, the Porsche goes to that defensive line. The Aston Martin nearly pelts the back of the Porsche, but with a few pixels to spare, does not hit the back of his pursuer, of his prey, I should say. So coming through Graham Hill Bend again, that is where the Aston's that tiny bit weaker from the Porsche, as we saw from the onboards last time around. But Peter Plaster doing everything he possibly can and nearly clouts the back of the Porsche again. Is this going to be his opportunity? The tail of the Porsche gets a little bit light, but nothing too decisive at all. Again, but Adam Barron glues himself to that inside line. So Plastow trying to wrong foot the Porsche, trying to get him out of that all-important rhythm. Oh, is this an opportunity now? No, Adam Barron just positioning himself perfectly well every single time. And Peter Plastow just cannot get the momentum he needs. Brilliant driving from both of them.
Yeah, you can see the experience and the skill coming through here. Barron on the defensive, he knows exactly what he's doing. He's placing his car perfectly, and Plastow's doing the right things, you know, trying to move Barron around, heading to the outside to cut back to the inside for the exits, but Barron's got it covered. It's great stuff. Meanwhile, a similar battle is raging for P4 just down the road. It's Beres versus Cullen, another 3.5 seconds away from the two we were just watching, and Cullen got very, very close to the back of the Aston Martin there, but not quite managing to make anything stick on this occasion. He's got a good run though, does Cullen, heading towards Paddock Hill Bend. Don't think it's going to be quite enough to make a move on this occasion as Beres hits the brakes. Such a tricky braking zone, we've talked about it already. Cullen nails his apex though, but it's not enough on this occasion. So once again, Beres just having a little bit of breathing space for a couple of corners before Cullen is all over the back of him once again. But yes, all that battling between Barron and Plastow, they're losing a lot of time now to Boland, about half a second a lap. Boland's just checking out at the front. He's got good pace, and it looks like he could be claiming what I believe will be his second win of the season. The only other man to have won a race this season, other than McFadden, is Boland, who's won one, and Benjamin Cullen, who we were just watching in P5. Both race winners when at Knock Hill, when we didn't see Stu McFadden. But it looks like Boland might be doing it for a second time here. But you can see in the background there, Plastow not giving Barron any chance to breathe at this stage.
Absolutely not. That Porsche mirror's just full of that angry red Aston Martin, and nothing that Peter Plastow has been able to do has shaken that determined defensive drive from Adam Barron at the moment. And as you said earlier, John, 4 seconds behind them, Beres and Cullen doing exactly the same dance. And along with King, Finch and Etop for 7th position, they're very, very close together. Now in a two-way battle, you know where your car is strong, you know where you've got an opportunity to try and make a move, and you know how your prey, your opponent, is likely to defend. But when you have 3 or more cars involved in a fight, the whole dynamic changes. As we now look at the battle for 12th place, Jewski and Stevens, that wounded Porsche still hanging on in there. As well, that was a 3-way fight last time we looked at it with Ryan Abbott, now 5.6 seconds behind them. So Tom Stevens still determined to get that position up as we now look at the battle for 4th position with the Mercedes of Ben Cullen, of one of the Knock Hill race winners, as you say, John, now coming down the head. He's nose ahead of the Aston, but Darren Beres has got the inside line, still side by side. Cullen noses ahead again in the Mercedes. Now he's going to have the advantage as we come through 13th. Darren Beres has the initial advantage, but now coming through Clearways and into Clark Curve, that is an overtake complete for Ben Cullen. Bit of a slide there from the Aston from Darren Beres. That is denied him the opportunity for a counter-attack, and look how costly that slide was. That's 0.8 of a second already between the two. It's
done. Meanwhile, Abbott down the inside, I think that's him defending from Bradley Kropp after whatever's happened there with Abbott dropping that time, or Abbott's I should say, and Kropp obviously on the recovery after lap 1. Looking strong in the BMW. That was a great battle we just saw there, wasn't it, between Beres and Cullen, side by side for a good part of half a lap. Great, clean, respectful racing, and we're seeing a lot of that this season. We're seeing more of it right now as Abbott defends the inside line, but Kropp takes a really wide sweeping line looking for that exit. He's got the speed, and the BMW doesn't have the inside line though, because Abbott defends and he makes an inside line for himself. That's just a mistake on Kropp's behalf. Abbott goes spinning round, and there just wasn't a gap there. He tried to make one, and unfortunately got the braking a bit wrong. And yeah, Abbots pays the price, drops further back, and I'm sure Crop won't be feeling too great after that one.
An unfortunate mistake there, just slightly too deep. Oh no, Dan Hardwig has caught the grass on the outside line, trying to make it was indeed a good save. Oh, was that our race leader coming up right behind him? This battle continues though. Stevens and Ajewski still arguing for 12th place. Mercedes from Porsche at the moment. We know Tom Stevens has amazing pace. Tom Ajewski is doing Jack Ajewski doing a great job of holding on to that spot as Barron and Plastow are still trying to swap positions, but Adam Barron doing what he can to hold on to that second spot as battles all over the place. As we know, are we into our final lap? I'm not quite sure where the clock was. Chris Boland might just beat it, but he's got the opportunity actually to back off during this lap to ensure the checkered flag falls this time. Still, plenty of fighting going on for the rest of the positions. Chris Boland has an easy time of it this time. Doesn't mean he will for race 2.
Yeah, I think this will be the last lap. Just looking there, we've got 10 seconds left on the timer, so it's close, but Boland will just have one corner to go for him to take his second victory of the season in the Royal Air Force 86. And it's been a confident, easy run. We've not seen much of Boland, Chris, because he has just been absolutely dominant out in front.
That he has, your winner for race number 1. Flash of the lights, he knows it, he's happy about it. Chris Boland takes the win. Adam Barron take a bow. That was a superb display of defensive driving to hold on to second place. Peter Plastow, a very worthy third. Benjamin Cullen managing finally to dethrone Darren Burrows from 4th as they come over the line. Waters from King, from Finch, from Etop, from Ward. Rounds out your top 10. That's Ajewski only just fending off the advances of Tom Stevens for that 12th spot. For that 11th spot with Crop, Scott, Abbots and Weston still to cross the line. Now Crop comes over the line. Scott will be coming home in 14th. There is Ryan Abbott. Oh, what might have been for him as he comes home in 15th position. There's Ben Weston, the last car on the lead lap. What a way to start the night. We very, very much enjoy our racing here. And what a display we've seen.
Yeah, superb stuff. Dominant from minute 1 from Boland. He just kept on edging out that gap and clearly had the pace, had the confidence, and probably, wasn't as easy as it seemed from the outside, but an excellent drive nonetheless from Boland. And Adam Barron as well, really, really impressive defence throughout the whole race from Plastow. Yes, we saw the contact on lap 1. I'm sure the stewards will be having a look at later on, but we saw Barron's attacking prowess last time at Lebanon. We've seen his defensive driving here, Chris, and he seems to have the whole package. He did miss one of the rounds in this season, but he's been finishing consistently up there in the top 5 when it's been going his way. So definitely one to keep an eye on in the long run. And one thing else to keep an eye on, of course, will be the reverse grid, because the second race is sure to kick up a little bit more drama.
Indeed, indeed. Right, let's have a look then at how many of our top positions will be reversed. Spin away production. Will it be 12 once again? Well, we're about to find out. So this is how many positions are going to be reversed for race 2. Oh, is it going to be? It's 12 again? Or is it going to tick over? Oh, it just ticks over. 6 positions. So the top 6, only Tom Stevens will be livid. He will be absolutely livid. So there we go. Proof, ladies and gentlemen, that the reverse grid random wheel does throw something other than 12. So the top 6 will be reversed for the next race. We have also got our podium 3 waiting to come and have a chat to us. Let us grab hold of Pete Plastow first of all, our 3rd place finisher. Pete Plastow, are you with us?
Who's that? Sorry. I've been moved. Sorry.
You have indeed. It caught you very much off guard. Slightly rude of me to not actually introduce you after I dragged you. That was my fault. Wow, Peter Plastow, what a fantastic race. You've been finishing so strong all season, but just that slight bit of momentum just denied you every single time you attacked Aaron. Talk us through it from your side.
Yeah, I was surprised actually that I caught up with him. I thought he was going to hang on to Chris and I'd be left on my own a little bit, but he came back towards me. I wondered for a moment if he was backing me into the guys behind me. I'm not sure if they're RAF or Navy or what they were, but that was my thought process. And then that Porsche gets away out of the corners so well. It's so hard to keep up with them.
But every single time there was a tiny gap built, you were straight back on him, coming through Surtees and Clark. As we now get to enjoy your on stream, your gorgeous Aston. Do you feel the Aston is strong, or do you feel that it was a little bit more luck that went your way? Looks like the Aston is very, very strong this week.
Yeah, it is. It feels really good. It handles well around here. I think it's just out of the corners. The Porsche, it seems to get its power down much better. But under braking, I could tend to reel him back in a little bit. And that was just the flow of it, really. And then even when you catch somebody around here, it's so hard to overtake and get a good run. If they put you on the outside, you've got nowhere to go, really.
So we've done the reverse grid randomizer for the first week of this season. It is not 12, it is 6 positions that have been reversed. So you will still remain fairly close. You're not going to be chucked into the midfield. Is that quite pleasing to you? Everybody wants to be near the front, obviously, but Brand, not always the easiest place to overtake, as Adam Brown was very much putting you through your paces to prove. You quite happy with that?
Yeah, well, that'll put me third or fourth on the grid.
Fourth,
so, yeah, definitely at the front where I started on the first one. So hopefully it can go the same again, and I won't get knocked off this time, and we can have a good finish again.
Very much look forward to it. Any questions, John?
Not really. I mean, I just enjoyed watching that display. Obviously, you've been challenging Baron the whole time. What do you think you can do then from sixth, from sixth to the top 6 reverse grid? It puts you in a better position than usual. P4. Do you have any particular targets? Is it a podium? Is it maybe a race win?
Hopefully, I can get back on the podium again. But it'll all be about the start and see what happens. Hopefully, we can get away cleanly, and it'll be a rolling start as well. So that'll spice things up into the first corner.
It certainly will indeed. We very much look forward to it. We'll let you prepare for race number 2, starting from 4th. Thank you very much, Peter Plastow.
Thank you.
Great stuff. Thank you very much, Pete. I've always enjoyed to chat to you. Let's have a chat then to the man he was really battling, and probably whose tail end has been etched in his mind, the defensive masterclass of Adam Barron. Adam, are you with us?
Evening, gents.
My goodness me, those Aston Martin lights must have bored a hole into your soul by now. Talk us through it from your side.
Yeah, there's nothing. I think we're having the shoe on the other foot now with the French track. The Porsches were supreme. The Aston Martins are all over us here. Yeah, it was good, and then he's just quicker out of me out the last corner, and it was difficult to try and keep momentum. So I just had to keep placing the car on the inside and compromise my lap times just to send him around the outside each time, and thankfully it worked. But I've just got to say sorry to Tom for the first corner. Obviously it wasn't intentional, it was just one of those things. I was hoping for another Porsche to help us fend off those pesky Astons, but it wasn't to be.
It was such a joy to watch how brilliantly well that you and Pete were racing there. But I kind of thought the Porsches would be kind of ruling the roost here. We saw, exactly as you said, the Lebanon, on how well corner exit was working for the Porsches. Is it just that stretch from Clark right the way through to Paddock Hill Bend that undoes it for the Porsche slightly?
Yeah, I haven't driven the Aston, so I couldn't tell you what the characteristics are, but with the Porsche at that last corner, it just understeers, so you've really got to keep you can't put the power on as early as you want to because you understeer off. So I think that's where it's compromised, and obviously it compromises you down the whole back straight. So first sector and second sector, not too bad. Third sector is where it kills us.
I see, indeed. Now, it is just the top 6 this time that are reversed, so that will put you in 5th position. Do you think you'll be able to do something from there, or is it going to be a case of taking opportunities that are granted?
Well, I've said it before and I'll say again, race 2 is just absolute, it could be anything. So I think I'll just try and keep my nose clean and see where we end up, because I've been stung too many times already.
Well, from what we've seen tonight, very much looking forward to how the Porsche performs in your hands, Adam. Brilliant job. Well done on the podium. Any questions, John?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we saw your attacking prowess last time. We saw defensive prowess this time, and you're picking up another podium despite the car not really suiting the circuit. So, in terms of the overall championship, are you beginning to feel like there might be a little bit of a title hunt going on? Because I know Stu's not here this week. You've missed round 2, but you're always up there on the podium whenever you have a good race. So, are you looking that far ahead?
Yeah, I think it's all going to come down to the drop scores. If Stu misses more than 4 races, i.e. 2 rounds, then I think the rest of us have a shout. But I think it just all depends. There's still a long way to go in the season yet. But with his consistency when he is racing, with 100 points and 100 points, and the rest of us squabbling for second and thirds, I think it's going to take him to miss a few rounds in order for the championship to sort of be wide open. But I'd hope that I'm up there. It just, like I say, you could just have how many races you miss, and then you have a couple of bad rounds, especially like for me a couple of weeks ago, and it does affect your point score. So we'll see. I'm not gunning for it, but it would just be nice to be in the picture.
We very much look forward to your performance for the rest of the season as well. Great stuff. We'll let you prepare for the race number 2. Thank you very much, Adam Barron.
Cheers, gents.
And what may end up being a short interview is we didn't see an awful lot of him. Let's have a chat to our very worthy victor. Chris Boland, are you with us?
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, very well, sir. I mean, we didn't see an awful lot of you. You started brilliantly well, and then good night, Vienna.
Yeah, I've obviously taken a leaf out of Stu's book with him being a bit absent this week, so it seems to work quite well, so I can see why he's done it for so long now.
Yeah, but I mean, you've had the top of the times all night. Yeah, you were top of the times in practice. You obviously starting on pole. Were you that confident coming into this week's race?
Yeah, quietly confident. I've put in a few laps around here. I was a bit disappointed when, unfortunately, I had to get cancelled last week. So I was kind of hoping that we'd come back to Brands Hatch and not skip the round, because I think that would have gone against me. So I was really quite pleased when we said that we were coming back to Brands this week.
As we've run on a little bit too long, so we're going to have to wrap this one up quickly, Chris. You'll be starting from 6th this time, as opposed to the rudimentary 12. Confident you can work your way up to the top?
It's not the easiest track to pass, but we shall give it a go.
Well, we very much look forward to your performance. We'll let you prepare for race number 2. Thank you very much, Chris Boland.
Thanks, Chris.
Right, well, it is not long to go before the rolling lap doth begin. So at times like this, John, when you're faced with a rolling lap, the adrenaline's pumping, from a driver's perspective, we'll take Chris Boland. He's starting 6th, so not quite midfield, but certainly in amongst the crowd. What's running through your mind?
It's interesting because, in the real world of racing, you're just happy to be sat in the car and finally moving, and you can finally focus on the race ahead. And in the sim racing, I guess it's the same. It's the waiting around that kills you. It's the warm-up sessions. It's the waiting for the server to kick into life, all that kind of stuff. On this particular race, I think Boland, he's already had a good start to the weekend. He's got the pace. It's going to be a different one altogether, though, from 6th position. But I guess you go into a second race, if you've had a reverse grid, like there's nothing to lose. You're going to be starting further back, but you've got the confidence. I mean, Boland's now won 2 races. He's our new championship leader as of the last race, so he's going to be brimmed with confidence. Plastow obviously had a lot of pace too, so he's going to be a big challenge for him. But, I mean, from Boland's perspective, there's nothing to lose. Just pick off one at a time, keep on going for moves, and just trust that you have the pace in that car and you can get things done. Also, it's key to try and stay out of trouble on lap 1, because we've seen how influential the first laps have been in these reverse grid races. Slightly less chaos with 6 instead of 12, but I still expect there to be incidents. I still expect there to be lots of changes on the leaderboard. So Boland will be hoping it's his name moving up.
Yeah, absolutely true. And I know when, in my somewhat meager sim racing lifetime, whenever I've started mid-pack, that's exactly what you said, whilst absolutely true. And it is exactly what I tell myself. As soon as the green light goes, I have a horrible, horrible habit of C gap, must go for it. And it's that kind of instinct it can be difficult to tame, especially when, opening lap, you've got everybody around you. It can be quite difficult to keep that under control, or certainly is for me.
Maybe that's why you're in the commentary box and not behind the wheel.
Safer for all concerned. So this is how the grid is going to line up then for race number 2. Adam Waters and Darren Beres take on row 1. Ben Cullen and Peter Plastow row 2. Adam Barron and Chris Boland row 3. James King and Peter Finch row 4, with Stuart Eatock and Steve Ward on row 5. Jack Ajewski and Tom Stevens row 6. Bradley Kropp and Colin Scott on row 7. Ryan Abbots and Ben Weston row 8, with Dan Hardwick and Chris Slater taking on the back of the field. Yes, it is always safer for all concerned if I am in the commentary box. As much as I love racing, I know where my skill set is. I know which seat I need to be in, put it that way.
It was a low jab. I'm very sorry, Chris. But
but entirely factual. Entirely factual.
For these 50, I can tell you for sure the next 15 minutes are going to pass really quickly, as they have done all year. I've done a couple of 2-hour races around here, and it's honestly the only time you'll ever feel dizzy in a race car. Maybe in America you'll feel dizzy a lot more, but in the UK anyway, it's pretty much it. So these guys will be glad it's only 15 minutes. But of course, with that, there's not much time to make the moves and make the progress through the field. So as I was saying before, this first lap is going to be crucial. My man to watch has to be Pete Plastow, because he was the only one who seemed to have Boland-esque pace, and it was Barron who was really stopping him from putting up a fight for the win here. He's got the advantage on the grid, but only a couple of spots. I think his first few laps could be crucial. If Plastow can get through to the front here within the opening 2 or 3 laps, we could see a win for the Army representative.
100% with you there, and he was taking inspiration from Stu McFadden, who just always had that ability to work his way unscathed through the reverse grid field. As the rolling lap now comes over the line to start. We'll see the lights come on, and we will then be racing once more. There it is. And we are racing here in Brands Hatch once again. We've got lots of side-by-sides going on, and that's not a good start for Plastow. Oh, no, that's not a good start for Peter Finch, as he's gone off for the road to James King, and that is Peter Plastow. The curse of the commentator has struck, and it is his Mercedes backwards off into the gravel trap, not into the wall at least. But Tom Stevens hasn't had a good start either, you can see on the tower, but it's Barris from Cullen, from Waters, your top 3.
Yeah, Waters losing a couple of spots there, but it's Barris who takes the lead, so it's going to be interesting to see. It's Barris versus Cullen once again, but this time it's for the lead rather than P5, so that's going to be great to watch. Meanwhile, Bradley Crop takes a look around the outside of Stevens, who will be delighted to have his rear wing back on that Porsche. It's not helping him in lap 1 though, because Crop is making the move. Meanwhile, something's happened to Cullen. Oh, he's spun into the pit lane entrance. The man who was fighting for the lead there on the opening lap. I don't know if there's been contact, but it's the graphics have shown him in the pit lane because he lost the rear out of the last corner. And yeah, absolute nightmare. That's his race pretty much over for the lead as well as Plastow. And Barris in a good position. And then it's Barron versus Boland now for P3.
Well, Barron now has a different Aston Martin staring into his soul, as we have the Aston of Darren Barris leading the way, but only by half a second from the Mercedes of Adam Waters, we're now seeing on stream. So the highest ranking Mercedes at the moment. But yeah, what a shake-up, what a start. You said earlier, John, that the reverse grid races do tend to create a bit of chaos and anarchy. The Mercedes losing a bit of momentum coming through that last turn. So Adam Barron having a look. He gets the inside line. Can he commit to it side by side? Coming through Paddock Hill Bend. But the Porsche takes a commanding move to take second place.
Really, really good move there from Barron. Solid down the inside, used the momentum. We're just seeing a quick replay now of what happened to Cullen. And did he do it all by himself? He did. He dropped it on his own on the exit. It's looking a bit cloudy and cold out there, so maybe the temperatures weren't quite up in the tyres, but that was fully a mistake there from Benjamin Cullen, and he'll be gutted because he was staring a potential race victory in the face. And another man who's potentially staring a race victory in the face is Adam Waters, but actually he's dropped back a bit further still. So he's now under pressure, of course, from Boland, having just been passed from Barron. So at the moment, it's more like a podium that he's trying to fend off, and it's not exactly the man you want behind you right now with the pace that Boland's got.
No, absolutely. So I fear that Adam Waters won't have a choice here. He's going to have the same move executed on him as Adam Barron did a lap ago, and this time it is Boland up into 3rd position. He did, Chris Boland needed to get that one done quickly. He could not afford for Adam Barron to run off into the distance. I thought the Mercedes hit the back of the Aston there, but that was just the way the camera angle looked. But now Chris Boland's just got to get back into that rhythm and close that gap down. As that's Darren Barron is off. Oh no, and he's caught by Waters as well. That is a horrendous place. Yeah, I was just thinking, oh no, that is a bad place to stop. The only thing he could have done was reverse, but again, if someone's taking avoiding action behind you, that's the worst thing you could do. Such a rock and a hard place position there for Darren Barris. What a shame from the race lead as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And he was being caught by Barron. I don't know if it was the pressure. I don't think there was contact. There was a couple of attempts between them. But whatever's happened, it's obviously cost Barris a lot. And then obviously that impact. Aren't you glad sometimes that we're virtual racing and not real racing? Because that was a sore one. And we'll hope the drivers don't have their hands on the wheel for that, because that'll be a sore one of the wrists, let's say. But obviously the main thing is both guys are out of the race. Barris down in 15th now. He's going to have huge damage from that. And yeah, it's really unfortunate. But let's see what's actually happened there. I don't think, as I say, it was contact with Barron, but let's just wait and see before passing any judgment. So yeah, Beres just goes in deep. He goes in hot, doesn't he? Loses the back end. No collecting it. Oh, I tell you what, amazing effort from Waters and one of the blue cars as well to do a great job avoiding. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is damage to both Aston Martins. Beautiful camera work. Not such a beautiful look on those beautiful cars anymore. Meanwhile, that looks like Waters has dropped another position now to Ajewski, who's up to 4th. So Waters is dropping back. He tends to be into Paddock Hill Bend, where he's losing most places.
Yeah, seems to be where the Mercedes is, or certainly his Mercedes is struggling a little bit more. Is right on his tail is Tom Stevens, who's having a storming run, starting in 12th. Remember, he did most of the last, well, all of the last race with no rear wing. So he's really enjoying the fact that his car is complete and not wounded. Steve Ward fending off the advances of Ryan Abbott. That Mercedes at times has certainly had strong pace, but sadly Ryan Abbott has not had the consistency he would like. Tom Stevens having a look on the inside line of Adam Waters, can't get it done as the green Mercedes gets the slipstream off the back of Jack Ajewski. This is exactly what Tom Stevens is trying to do. He's trying to find any available slot he can. Where's Ajewski gone? Ajewski has gone off the road. Oh no, because just as a battle was forming. Oh, he's disconnected. Oh, what a huge travesty for Jack Ajewski. In the midst of battle, sadly, sim racing has struck, and an issue for him has dropped him very much out of the running. But Tom Stevens still glued to the back of Adam Waters for what is now 4th.
Literally disappeared off the face of the earth. Really unfortunate, because it would have been a good points haul there for Ajewski. He's having a good season, sitting 11th in the standings heading into this one, but that's not going to help his cause whatsoever. It's going to be a DNF, and yeah, it's always a shame when the internet troubles kick in. We're on board with Stevens, who is very much enjoying the rear wing on his unfancied Porsche. I mean, he's making huge progress up into P5, showing what he could have been in the first race from Stevens, and what an exit that is. Waters really is struggling through Paddock Hill Bend. Stevens is going to look to the outside. I think he's going to go for the up and under, but that Mercedes gets a decent enough exit. Stevens is not going to be able to dive down the inside into Graham Hill Bend, but yeah, he definitely looks like he's got the pace advantage here, and it's Waters who seems to be struggling. Obviously, there's only 9 minutes left, so Waters can still finish in a good position here, but he really does want to try and steady that Mercedes ship if it's all possible. Boland, of course, 4/10 behind Barron as well, so let's keep one eye on the timing screens for that lead battle, because it's going to get intense if Boland shows anything like the pace he showed in race 1, and Barron is going to have to do the defending all over again.
Now that silver Aston there is actually Darren Beres. That is not the next car in position, so he will have to get out of the way. He will have to yield to the blue flag rulers. That is an opportunity then for Tom Stevens on the inside of the Mercedes. Wow, was he late on the brakes. Goodness me. Manages to slow it down and decisively takes that spot. I think Adam Waters saw that one coming, gave a bit more room. On the inside line, that's Benjamin Cullen on the side of Jack Ajewski, who has reappeared, who was able to rejoin the session, but sadly down into 13th position. That is such a shame for him. The two Mercedes now restarting their battle. Benjamin Cullen not having the start of this race that he would have liked. But what a great move that was for Tom Stevens from 4th. Up top, you can see how close it is between Barron and Boland for the top spot. Bit of a gap between themselves and Stuart Eatock. So he's on course for a strong finish. Will that be his first? I think that would be actually his first podium of the season if Stuart Eatock was able to hang on to that 3rd.
I think Eatock's had one podium. I think it was the second race at Knockhill. He ended up in P2, but other than that,
yes.
It's been a quiet season in terms of the podium positions. So Eatock looking for a second one of the season, but he has been strong all year, hasn't he? He's had the pace. He's been up there or thereabouts, just not right at the top with the likes of Barron, Boland, with the likes of Arpino, and of course McFadden. But this is the lead battle we're now looking at. We're on board with Boland. You can see the power of the Aston Martin. Barron instantly going on the defence, and you can also see the traffic there up ahead. That's Peter Finch in the Aston Martin. He's going to have to keep an eye on his mirror, but it's an outside move for Boland, and is he going to pull it off? No, he's not at this stage. Barron just hangs on through Paddock Hill as they move to the inside heading into Druids. And yeah, Boland's looking incredibly racy right up against the rear of Adam Barron in the Porsche. What's going to happen now in towards Graham Hill Bend? Nothing too exciting as Boland pulls in behind. You can see the grunt of the Aston Martin there. I think that car is going to have a good advantage in a straight line. It's all about whether he can get the exits, and that's what Barron can do well. But remember, Barron was struggling with understeer in this final corner, so let's see if that comes into fruition again.
Oh.
Boland looks there, it's had a bit of contact, and Barron holds it down towards the inside. It's getting racy at the front.
Absolutely so. Well, I mean, Adam Barrett had a complete dress rehearsal for this exact scenario only in the previous race, albeit it wasn't for the race win. It was still fending off the advances of an Aston Martin. It just happened to be a different one. As we now look at Ryan Abbott having an argument with Peter Plastow, who was the aforementioned Aston that was arguing with Adam Barrett last time out. Side by side is a brave place to go side by side through Paddock Hill Bend, and the Aston just and only just wins out on that one. Peter Plastow hanging on to 8th position, but he's having a great fight with Ryan Abbott in the Mercedes. So the number 25 car giving Peter Plastow plenty to think about as they continue their argument for what is now 8th place. Or the Aston again flirting with the grass on the outside line of Graham Hill Bend, manages to keep it good, but Ryan Abbott isn't giving up on that one just yet.
Yeah, that's a sensational comeback, has to be said, from Plastow. Bearing in mind, as Barron defends the inside line for the leader. Just going to say quickly, we have Plastow from the back of the grid on lap 1 to come up to 8th position. Hugely impressive. But it looks like Boland's going to go for the look at the inside. Barron covers him off. They managed to both get stopped. This is just incredible stuff. These two, you can see the experience. Boland kicking out the tail of the Aston Martin. That is what we want to see. And remember, of course, these two were the two that were battling for those podium positions throughout the opening round of the season at Donington. They very early on in the season established themselves as potential championship contenders, and now we're seeing them fighting out yet again, but this time with no Stu McFadden. It's for the win, of course, and it could be anyone's game at this stage. It's clear that Boland has the pace advantage, but we know what Barron can do out in front. Meanwhile, Hardwick on the back of the other recovering driver, of course, Benjamin Cullen, having his spin on lap 1 all by himself, but he's making the progress now, and Hardwick is going to have his work out trying to catch up with the 16 just outside the top 10.
That he does, just coming out of Clark Curve. I think Dan Hogan maybe a little bit, well, whether it's the characteristics of the McLaren or whether he's just a little bit more shy of getting the power down when he needs to. No disrespect, I mean, Dan Hardwick, we haven't seen too much of him, but then we knew we weren't going to. Dan did say at the beginning of the season he wouldn't be able to take part in too many rounds. Is that another problem for Jack Kajewski? Has he disconnected again, I wonder, as he's showing as, well, he was showing us out on the tower and now down into 13th position, so troubles still befalling him as we look at Bradley Kropp in the BMW, hustling Adam Waters for what is 5th position. Pole starting Mercedes has not been able to maintain the position he earned, which again in a reverse grid situation that is somewhat to be expected. But either way, Adam Waters doing a pretty good job of maintaining as much pace as he can. Bradley Kropp is ready to pile the pressure on. Now behind them, that's Darren Barrett he's a lap down, so he can unlap himself. General racing etiquette, if you are able to unlap yourself without disadvantaging the guys ahead of you, you can do so. As we now look at Tom Stevens, who's caught the back of Stu Etok. Will the number 45 Aston Martin be denied the opportunity of a podium? Oh, what might have been for Tom Stevens were it not for that spin in race 1.
Oh, absolutely. Look how close the lap times are, by the way, for the lead two, just within hundredths of a second. But this is the battle that's closer right at this particular moment. Tom Stevens taking a little bit of a narrower line through Paddock Hill, which isn't going to hurt on the entry, but it is going to hurt him a little bit on the exit. You can see how good he is, though, under braking. As Tom Stevens, as he heads to the exit now, where the Porsche is usually strong, and Etik certainly has his work out here, trying to hang on to that 3rd place. As you say, look at the exit again. Stevens using all of the AstroTurf and some. There's full grip out there as well, by the way. It's not as slippy as it might look. So the drivers certainly are going to be trying to make the most of it, and that's exactly what Stevens is doing. You can just see his minimum speed is just that bit higher, and Etik struggling with understeer. He's just not quite carrying the speed through the corners that Stevens is managing to. And yeah, as a driver in this situation, it's such a fun place to be. When you know you've got the measure of the car in front in terms of pace, it's all about management. Where do you go for the move? Do you show a nose? Do you try and do something unpredictable? And that's exactly what Stevens will be going through right now in terms of his thought process. This is a man, of course, who does know how to finish on the podium in this series, so expect a move to come very soon. But of course, Etik has been doing a good job defending, and he's only got a couple more laps to do it for, because we're getting into the final stages of this race, and it looks like there might be a chance here that Barron could do another defensive masterclass, only this time for a win.
Very, very true indeed. We saw Tom Stevens just catch the apex a little bit too hard at Paddock Hill Bend, and that denied him at all crucial momentum. Here we go again over the line for the penultimate time, or potentially penultimate time at least. between Boland and Barron. Chris Boland not close enough in the Aston Martin to challenge into that first turn. Through and up Pilgrim's Rise towards Druids. Again, Adam Barron just automatically adopting that defensive line, but that's deep for Boland. That's going to cost him. Is he going to be able to close that down before the checkered flag falls? Ooh, it's getting a bit desperate out there. I get what you were saying earlier, John, about nothing to lose, but you always want to, if you've got race winning pace, you most certainly want to be pushing for it. But Adam Barron is just he's got that art of car positioning perfectly well. As Blastow having a look at an outside line potentially, that would have been near dangerous to try an outside manoeuvre coming into Surtees. But he's hustling Steve Ward for 7th.
Yeah, I think a less experienced driver than Barron might crumble under the pressure here in the last lap. We've seen that throughout the season, drivers trying to hang on and the pressure just gets to them, but we know what Barron's capable of. We know his experience and he's won races before, so he will be hanging on. In fact, he hasn't won a race this season, so actually has Adam Barron won races before? He's been right up there, but I'm not sure if he has in this particular series. Looks like it could be then his first win, certainly for this year. Meanwhile, Plastow and Ward going at it on this last lap. Plastow's going to look to the outside. He's just not going to quite have enough over Ward unless he can get the overlap. No, he can't. Ward defends the inside, but look at the lead back. Well, it's really, really close. And actually, Boland got all over the back of Barron by the time he got to the final corner. But it's not going to be enough. Etic drops down the leaderboard, but Barron is going to hold on.
Oh, it's almost a photo finish. Not even a 10.5 between them. But Stu Ito from a podium spot has fallen off the road. Blastow managing to get Steve Ward. Has he? There's a drag race to the line between Aston and Porsche. Oh, Steve Ward's just ahead. There's not even a 10th of a second between the two. Blastow denied 8th position towards the end. Brilliant drive from the Porsche of Steve Ward. Great stuff there. Just kept his head, kept his foot in it, and very well played. So Barron from Boland, Tom Stevens from 12th to 3rd in the end, with a few people falling by the wayside. What a brilliant recovery drive for the 89 Porsche.
Superb stuff from this man you can see right now, Tom Stevens. Another podium, and certainly had to earn that one. What a great performance. Shows what a rear wing can do on a race car. Waters, of course, from pole position as well. You have to say, great job for him. He clearly didn't quite have the pace of the leaders, but to pick up a P6 in race 1, and which I think was his best result of the season so far, and then to top that off with a P4 in race 2. He's missed much of the season, but that has got to be, for sure, the best Tuesday evening so far for him. Crop in 5th, and Steve Ward as well in 6th. Massive shout out. We saw the defensive work against the incredibly quick Peter Plastow, and I think Ward will be delighted with P6 in that race after what's been a fairly tough season for the Englishman.
Very, very true indeed. So we'll give our drivers an opportunity to make themselves ready if they so choose to. It's not mandatory to speak to our podium 3, but it is always nice to get their thoughts on it. And again, we just have to wait for them to appear in our version of the green room. But wow, as always, we've been treated. Every single race has been absolutely monumental. And as always, Brands Hatch did not disappoint.
It really didn't. The racing's always good around here. We always see people going for big moves. It's difficult to get a move to make a move stick around here, actually, unless the other driver gets a bad exit. That's kind of what you're relying on here at Brands Hatch. But boy, did we see some racing tonight. Plenty of overtaking, plenty of action. And the same top 2 in each race in a different order, but very different circumstances leading up towards that. Fantastic defense all night from Barron. Looking forward to speaking to him, hopefully, about his defending in that particular race. And a great night for Boland as well, who should take the lead of the championship. With no Luke Arpino, Boland went into the night in 2nd, and it's been a really, really strong points haul for him. So, yeah, Boland has got to basically be marked out as a contender now going forward.
We have 2 of our podium 3. Hopefully, Tom Stevens is able to join us. Let's have a chat with race 2 victor, Adam Barron. Adam, are you back with us?
I am indeed. Here's the gents.
Did you sweat a little bit in that second race, sir?
It was squeaky bum time. I saw Chris coming towards me, and then, yeah, it was definitely squeaky bum time. But I just had to do what I did in the first race and just defend for my life. And there was a couple of incidents when he poked me up the rear, so to say, just when he wasn't expecting me to break where I was on the apexes. But no, it was good. So happy with that. Happy with the win.
I can imagine so, and yeah, brilliantly done as well. I mean, you can't say that you lucked into that. You just kept everything clean, did exactly what you needed to do. What was the thoughts on the reverse grid start there? So you were starting in the third row, of course, next to Chris. What runs through your mind at that particular moment, knowing that you've got cars that are potentially a little bit slower than you ahead? You know, obviously, how the flow of the circuit is. You know where the trouble spots are. What runs through your mind in preparation for the green light?
I think it's you look who's around you. I knew that Dan Barris was at the pole, and or he was at the front, wherever he was. But I knew he would be difficult to pass because he always makes it difficult. So, but yeah, the start of the race, and then I think it was Pete Plasto on the outside of me, and again, it was almost a repeat instance of race one. I'm on the inside, I can't really do anywhere, and it's just a slice as a touch, and he spun off. So again, fortunate for Pete. And then but when as soon as I was behind Dan, I thought, all right, here we go, game on, and he binned it and let me pass. And I saw Chris got held up a little bit more with him. So once that happened, I just tried to run off in the distance, but I knew it wasn't going to be possible. And then I just watched the relative come down and tried to defend my way. But yeah, all good.
So you've had an Aston staring into your soul all night long. It must be quite nice to have claimed that top spot this time.
Yeah, it sounds good when it's behind you. You can really hear the roar of the engine, so it sounds great. It doesn't do much, like I say, for the nerves. But I'm just extremely happy with the win. It seems like it's been a long time since last season when I first got one, and I never quite reached it, I don't think, last season. So it's nice to get a win finally.
And well deserved indeed. John, any questions?
What's your thoughts heading into Oulton? I mean, it's a track that many people love driving, and you've got momentum this year. You've got good results. You've bounced back from disappointment at Lebanon. So, how are you feeling about Oulton Park?
I like Oulton a lot. It's one of my favourite tracks. Maybe not success-wise, but just to drive. It's so fun to drive. So I haven't done it in the Porsche yet, or I think I did in the first season of the second season of AFVRC. So I'll have to remind myself what it's like. But I'll be racing from a hotel, so I'm hoping the Wi-Fi will be good enough next week for me to take part. But looking forward to it.
You're a brave man to be racing on a hotel Wi-Fi. You're a brave man, but. Brilliant stuff, Adam. A brilliant win. Thoroughly enjoyed that, and we wish you the best for the season to come. Thank you very much, Adam Barron.
Thank you, gents. Really enjoyed the stream. Thank you.
It's a great pleasure. When you guys put racing on like that, it's a great pleasure indeed. Let's have a chat then with our second place finisher, Victor from race 1, and a podium finisher in race 2. Chris Boland, are you with us?
Hello again, Chris.
Well, you did absolutely everything you could there. I certainly looked at it from our perspective. So talk us through it from your side.
Yeah, that was pretty much every trick in the book once myself and Adam managed to break away. I got very lucky on the first probably 3 or 4 laps with a few spinners in front. Could have just easily have been collected up and that would have been race over, but luck was on my side this time. I managed to dodge them. But yeah, as soon as me and Adam broke away, I knew it was going to be tricky to get past him.
I mean, you started the season really strong. You've had some unfortunate incidents in the last few races, but other than race 8 where you were on the podium again, but it must, to have 2 strong podium finishes, that's got to give you a bit of confidence back.
Yeah, definitely. It's what I needed. It's all fairly close at the top. Obviously, with Luke being away this week, that opens things up again. So the drop rounds are going to be really important. So hopefully, if I can carry on, getting some decent results, my drop rounds will be significantly less than theirs, and it'll all come good in the end.
Brilliant stuff. I mean, with the racing that we've seen, not just tonight and all season long from you, we very much look forward to that. Any questions, John?
Yeah, I've been noticing, Chris, you and Adam tend to be stuck together in many of the races. You're always having good battles. Do you know Adam well, outside of sim racing or just within racing? Because the two of you are always so closely matched, and from my own experience in sim racing, it's always great fun when you're so closely matched to someone. You can almost see them as a bit of a rival, and it just makes it that bit more enjoyable getting to know them and getting to know racing against them and learning how they defend, how they attack. So, do you know him at all outside of this?
No, so me and myself, well, Adam, and I think he's been in the Air Force for about a year longer than I am. But we've never crossed paths, not to my knowledge anyway. But Adam's been doing AFVRC as long as I have, so I know him very well on the track, and he's one of those guys that you can lean on him a little bit occasionally. You know that there's a bit more trust there, and he's got like you say, a similar sort of pace to what you have. But I don't even think we've crossed paths on any iRacing official races either. I think it's purely just been AFVRC.
Great stuff. And what are your thoughts towards Oulton Park next time out?
Yeah, another good track, another one that I like. I haven't spun many laps around with the Aston there yet, so I'll probably jump on tonight and do a few just to see how it feels, and hopefully it feels as good as it did around here tonight.
We very much look forward to seeing you on track once again. Brilliant night's racing, Chris, and yeah, the championship lead heading onwards. We look forward to the season to come. Thank you very much, Chris Boland.
Catch you next week, guys.
We look forward to it indeed, and that is going to be it. Sadly, Tom Stevens not joining us in the interview box, which is absolutely fine. He's probably off cooling away somewhere, but that is going to be it for tonight's festivities. Thank you very much to those that have been with us, either live or post-event. Your presence and your company is always welcome. Thank you very much, John Monroe, for keeping me on the straight and narrow and keeping us all well informed. A great pleasure, as always, good sir.
Yeah, thanks very much, Chris. Likewise, and thanks to Daniel behind the scenes as well. It's been a good round, as it has been all season, and Oulton Park is always exciting. We'll see how Adam Barron's internet Wi-Fi can hold up as well. The things we do for sim racing. I remember going to the Autosport show once, and we took my rig down with us in the car, and I set it up in a hotel lobby and did a race from there. It's the things you do when you enjoy league racing and you're getting into it, and it's good to see that from Adam. And yeah, the whole field really putting on a show all season. So let's roll on with Oulton Park. And I mean, I guess the championship really kicks into gear now. It's getting very close to the end, and drop scores become a thing. So the anticipation just continues to build.
That is very much indeed true. So we will resume festivities next week, 16th of April, as we said, at Oulton Park on its international layout. We hope that you will join us for then. Until next time, thank you very much, and good night.